Hello everyone, and welcome for the very first time to my YouTube channel. My goal is going to be to put out a new video every week, so if you'd like to see when I post my next video, be sure to go down below, hit the subscribe button, and if you'd like to be notified, be sure to hit the little bell icon right next to it as well. I've told some of my friends about this, but I've been meaning to make a YouTube channel for a while now because it's like the app that I waste most of my time on. The only thing that I can really imagine would stop me from like pursuing this full time would probably be my job. So as you can tell from the title, I am a full-time restaurant server. I've been working at my restaurant for almost a year now, and when I'm not serving tables, I'm actually having nightmares about serving tables. That little cup of ranch that I forgot to bring to Martha at table 12 is seriously gonna fuck up the rest of my week because you don't escape from it, you don't get a break from it. Like it torments you every single day. The worst kind of nightmares came from the period from when I was going from sitting at tables to actually serving the tables. I was hosting for about 6 months, maybe a little bit more. You deal with insane people. Hosting was really boring. Like I didn't have anything to keep me entertained. I literally just sat there, and there was like this little window thing that was built into the door, and I would literally look out to the parking lot and I would just zone out. I would go into this staring right at the pavement or whatever was outside. And sometimes actually if you got really lucky, you would have a car that would just pull up right in front of the window and it would sit there and the sun would blind you for a few hours. So like I said, I didn't really gain too much from my experience. What I didn't gain in actual entertainment, I did gain in stories that would be entertaining for other people. That brings me into my first story that I'm gonna go ahead and try and tell you guys. This happened like 3 or 4 months into my position hosting, and this type of person was the kind of person that I encountered like very frequently with my job. So this type is the crazy drunk guy, because we actually have a bar that is like right down the street from us, so people would go there, they would get faced, they would come to us, and they would just load up on like french fries and chicken wings and whatever food they could get that was the cheapest. So what happened with this guy was he walked in, and immediately, you know, I'm the first person you see. I have like a little stand right there at the door so I can go ahead and sit people. And he walked in, and the first thing he says is,
"Hey, have you seen my keys?"
And I was like, I've never seen you before. Like I said, he came from the bar that was across the street. I hadn't seen this guy all day. I've been working since 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and this was happening at like 11. I think it was like 11 to 12-ish. And I said, no, unfortunately we don't have any keys here. You know, what seems to be the issue? And he's like,
"Oh, I can't find my keys, and I was here like in the afternoon, and then I went across the street and I just can't find my keys."
I was like, well, okay, I mean, you can feel free to look, but there hasn't been anything that's like been turned into me or anything. Like, nobody's told me about any keys. And he's like,
"Okay, thanks, no problem. Which was your bathroom?"
oh, well, the bathroom's that way. So he goes,
"Thank you so much."
And he like goes into his pocket to like grab something for me, and he's like,
"Thanks for helping me, man, here you go."
and I originally thought he was gonna give me like a tip or something. And I was like, okay. And he dropped something into my hand and he walked away, and I looked, and it's like one of those, I don't actually know what they're called because I just call them phone penises, iPhone cord things that you put the headphones into. That's what it's called. It's called an adapter. So he gives me the phone adapter, and it's like ripped, and I wish I would have kept it, but like I threw it away immediately after he gave it to me. I was like, this is trash, and I'm a broke Android user, so I don't even have like a use for it. So he gives me that. He runs off into the restroom. He was there for like 30-ish minutes. He comes back out, and then he stops again at me, and he's like,
"Hey, do you have like maybe like a coat hanger or something? Because I couldn't find my keys in the bathroom."
I was like, well, no, I mean, it's a restaurant, so we don't have a coat hanger. But, you know, obviously I was just like, no, unfortunately, no, we don't, I'm sorry. Like, we're not really prepared for these kind of situations, but, you know, I can, if you want me to, I can call you an Uber, I can call you a taxi or something. But this guy was like,
no, like, I don't want to do that. Like, it's my car. Like, I need to get into my car.
I was like, well, I don't have a coat hanger, so I don't know what you want me to tell you. And he's like,
Oh, well, that's kind of messed up. You should be prepared for this kind of thing.
I'm like, I'm sorry. We don't have a coat hanger.
He's like, okay, fine, you know, whatever. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
He said he was gonna meet up with his friend or something like that, and I was like, okay, have a good night. I mean, I still wanted to be as nice as I possibly could, but whatever. You can go do your thing. So he goes to go meet up with his friend. I don't see him, you know, at all. Literally, I think like a good 30 minutes passes and I'm just sitting tables and it starts to get a little bit busier. Well, the manager who I was working with that night, he's not the kind of guy who like walks out of his job. So he goes to walk outside and I'm like, oh, well, maybe he's taking a phone call or something. Like, you never know. But I wasn't thinking too much of it because, like I said, it got busier. So he goes outside and he is on the phone. Yeah, he's just taking a phone call. Whatever. He's taking a phone call, whatever. You know, let him do his thing, I don't care. He's out there for a while, and then I see the police pull up, and I'm like, okay, what's happening? So I'm like looking outside of like a window. Basically what had happened was this guy had gone to the side of the restaurant and he grabbed like a rock, but it wasn't like a big rock, it was literally a pebble. It could fit in your hand, and he was like hitting his window. He was going in on his windshield. He thought he was hitting it, like he thought he was making progress, but he really wasn't. He was drunk hitting it, which means that he was pretty much going in like he wasn't doing anything. Like sis thought he was going in, but he was not. So he was not successful. And the cops showed up, and basically my manager thought that he was breaking into somebody else's car. The cops show up and they're trying to arrest him, and from what my manager told me, because I hadn't, you know, interfered, the cops basically were like, you can't break into somebody's car, like you're too drunk to be driving anyways, like, you know, what's wrong with you, what's happening? And he was like,
you don't understand, you got it wrong, like that's not what's going on here.
And the cops were like, but it literally is, like, what don't you understand about the legality of what's going on here? He couldn't explain himself. Like, he was so drunk that he could not get it out, like, to tell them what was happening. So I saw all this and I noticed, oh my god, it's the drunk dude. Like, I thought you disappeared. So I walk outside and I go over and I basically had to explain to the police what was actually happening. They were not very amused. But they were like, okay, yeah, we are going to take you home because, you know, you can't drive and you can leave your car here and then we'll find the keys in the morning or whatever. I wasn't working the next morning, unfortunately, so I didn't get to see the end of the story. But my manager told me that he came back and he realized that he actually had his keys on him the whole time. Thank God the guy didn't actually drive himself home and he didn't realize that he had the keys, because that would be bad. But like, I did everything I could do. I tried to get him a taxi. I tried to do everything I could. You know, unfortunately, there wasn't anything I could do past that. And like, he said he was going to go with his friends, so I figured, okay, well, he's going to get a ride, you know, but he didn't. So like, there's a lot of other things that happen when you work in restaurants. Like, you get to see the worst of people. I am very happy that Fortnite isn't a big deal right now, because when it was a big deal, there was like these teenagers. There was always like one or two teenagers, right? And their mom would come and drop them off. And I knew this because of like when I was hosting and I could see like, you know, the people coming up in their cars or whatever. It's always teenage boys and it's always their mom coming up after high school's over, right? So Karen skirts up in the Subaru, drops off Kevin and his best friend, and they would always like sit there on their iPhone 5s, like watching ninja videos with the volume all the way up. They would always ask for water, which, I mean, like, stay hydrated 2019, I feel you. But like, no, that's not what they would do. They would get this water and they would ask for like 200 lemons so that they could make their like homemade cheap ass lemonade. They would gulp that shit down and you'd constantly have to go back to them and bring them their water and all their lemons because they couldn't be asked to pay the extra like $3 it is for a lemonade. That was always horrible. I don't understand what you have to gain from watching these videos on your phone. Like, you definitely own a pair of headphones. Another thing that irritates me is the people who come in and they don't know what they're ordering. And I'm not saying like the people who like don't know the menu and all that other stuff. They literally open the menu up and they point at what they want, and then you bring it out and they're like, no, that's not what I want. And As someone whose life literally depends on tips, like I work my hardest to try and fix that kind of situation. If you ordered one kind of salad, you wanted the other kind of salad, I'm gonna go and fix it for you. I want your experience to be as good as it possibly can be. If you work in the service industry, then you have to have some kind of compassion for those kinds of things. It's impossible for you to thrive in that kind of job if you don't have a knack for fixing those kinds of situations. Even when you go out of your way and you do everything for a person and like it's still not enough, and you go to drop off like the food at a table and they react like you just took a shit on the plate and tried to give it to them, like it's not that big of a deal. It's not your fault sometimes, but you know, it is your fault because you work in a restaurant. Everything's your fault all the time. These people always want you to go and like have it remade immediately. I never understand what they expect from me in that kind of situation. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, do you really want me to go back in the kitchen and go and make sure that like your salad is made right then and there? You want me to stop everybody just so you can get your few pieces of lettuce? Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'll get it done as soon as I can. I want you to have a good experience, but like, you need to let me do what I gotta do. Drink your sweet tea or whatever it is that you're drinking. I will be back soon. And besides, if I'm spending all my time in the kitchen trying to get your salad fixed up, then who's gonna bring Kevin his water with his 200 lemons for his lemonade? Like, be considerate, okay? Be considerate. Alright, so you're probably confused about what's going on right now. You're looking at this because I recorded an outro on my camera, but my camera is dead, so it got none of it. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in a quick outro right here for you guys. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to go down below and leave a like and subscribe so that way you can see my video next week and all the weeks after that. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to go ahead and watch this. I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.